sunny outside. You're probably outside, not in here doing this. But hopefully, yeah, there are some of you still tuning in every morning. Hello if you are, and thanks for joining me. So today's lesson is all about spelling. I hate spelling. Well, I'm going to help you hopefully learn a few strategies today that will help you improve your spelling. Don't adjust your set. I am this bright. Excusez-moi. Sorry about that. Slight technical hitch with the clicker. The PowerPoint is not moving, hence why the live streams may have to be changed from next week. Never mind. Just a wee word up as well that I am going to be taking tomorrow and Friday off. I know we had lessons planned. There are a family situation going on with my children, so I've put it on the Aim Higher Facebook page. I know, don't cry. I'll be back on Monday. Yay! So I'm just having a couple of days off to do something really important with my daughter, so I do apologise I won't be here, but there's work on the page to get you going, so hopefully you'll still be able to carry on with that. Alright, today's word of the day, as always, predominant. Fancy. So if something's predominant, it means it's the main thing, you know, it's the strongest element. A wee example would be the predominant colour of the painting is green. The predominant colour of this page is yellow, because it's cheery and sunny, inside as well as out. And today's spelling word is beginning. If I had a fiver for every child that got that wrong over my teaching career, I'd be minted. Oh, just remember, beg. I'm begging you to get it right. It's only got one G. That's the way to remember. Pun of the day, as always. Are you feeling okay? You look a little pale. Pale. Different spelling. No? That's why I put that one up. I thought that was appropriate to today's lesson about spelling. The correct spelling would be P-A-L-E. Correct, well done. But that one's a little pale, which is obviously a little bucket. Did that joke kick the bucket as well as that? Alright, little task to get your brains warmed up for today's lesson. I would like you, 1 minute only. There's a word on the board, spell, which is very appropriate. And I'd like you to come up with as many words as you can that rhyme with spell. We did poetry the other day, so just try and come up with as many words as you can, see if you can beat the people in the room. Aim for at least 20 in a minute. Can you do it? You can. Alexa, play. Look, I'm doing that teapot dance. Alexa, stop. Thank you, my little chichi face. Well, did you get 20? Did you beat your pals? Did you beat your ma? Did you beat your bro? Did you beat your sis? Did you beat the dog? Fabulous, well done. Right, why spelling important? I've got a spell checker, so I don't need to spell. Wrong. There's a few reasons why spelling is important. I have listed some of them. There are obviously many more. So spelling is basically important because it helps you communicate. You know, if you're writing a load of gobbledygook, here's a great word, down, then we won't be able to understand it. So it helps improve everyone's understanding of what you're trying to say. Secondly, it improves comprehension. So obviously it can be confusing. Obviously as a teacher, you know, as a parent you may know as well, if you've read something and you've had to reread it, then that suggests that there's maybe something at fault, whether it be comprehension, spelling or punctuation. So it helps. If there's a lot of mistakes, it can be quite distracting, so that's another reason why it's important. Later in life, obviously you're going to be applying for jobs, unless you're a YouTube sensation. I wish. Or CVs, applications for university, that sort of thing. And it's not going to look good, is it, if it's full of errors. As I said, we get a wee bit too reliant on the old computer, but as you and I know, there are issues with spell check, especially if you've set it for American spelling, so it's going to shove a Z on all those words and spell jewellery really weird. Anyway, so don't rely on that. You can't walk around with a laptop, can you? And obviously, lastly, going along with the idea that it's good for CVs, yeah, it makes a good impression if, you know, if somebody reads something like an essay or a CV or an application, a letter, anything, and, you know, if there's loads of mistakes, it just kind of suggests that you've not made much of an effort, you haven't proofread it. So that's why it's also important. Right, so most of this today we'll be talking about different learning styles and strategies to help you improve your spelling. So obviously learning spelling rules and patterns can help us improve, but that's only part of being a better speller. When you're learning anything, you know, whether it be playing sport or picking up a new hobby some of us have done during lockdown, you have to practice, and it's the same with spelling. You have to put a little bit of time and effort in to get better and keep going over and over and over it. So there's different learning styles. Obviously these slides will go up on the page, but you might not be able to see them, so I'll just quickly go through them. So some people learn visually, can you see me? Some people learn auditory, which is your little lugs, your little ears. Some people learn verbally, which is obviously spoken. Some people learn kinesthetic. Ooh, fancy word! That just means you learn through touch. So, you know, writing on a whiteboard or writing in sand or in the air, you know, that sort of thing. There's logical learners who like to learn in a sort of strategic manner. And there's social learners who are learners who engage better when there's more than one person. So like you would maybe do an S on somebody's back and then they would help, or you would share a word back and forward, that sort of thing. And in reverse to that, there's people who like to learn on their own. So they're solitary learners. They don't want anybody else to be in the room. That's a bit like me just now during lockdown, but that's for other reasons. You know what I'm saying, parents, eh? So there's 7 learning styles. When you're small and you're young, you might not know what works best for you. Myself, I'm a very solitary learner. I like to be on my own and quiet as well. I don't like a lot of noise around me. And I'm a visual learner, so I like to read books and read things over and over to practice. But when it's spelling, that's something slightly different. I'll talk about that later on. You don't normally just have one learning style either. You have 1 or 2 or more. You know, it depends on the situation too. So don't just think, oh, I'm an X learner. You're not. You probably have other strategies depending on what you're trying to learn. There are some tests you can do online as well. Just Google it. So just learning style quiz or learning style test, and that'll maybe give you a wee indicator if you don't have a Scooby-Dooby-Doo, what to dooby-dooby-doo. Once you know what that style is, that's the sort of one that you might want to try and stick to more when you're learning spelling, because that maybe suits your style. Teachers among us will hopefully have seen this before. This is a strategy that's been used for many years. I think it applies really well in the classroom for most, because it does cover quite a lot of those learning styles we've just chatted about. I do know, because teenagers can be lazy, you know, there are some kids that will just look at the word and just rewrite it. That's not going to work, I'm afraid, because it doesn't sink in anywhere. So those 5 steps are quite important. So if you look at the word, So obviously you write it down. Look at it, say it out loud, cover it up with your hand, write it down again, and then the last bit is super important. That's the bit that kids will just go, yeah, that's me. The problem is if you've written it down wrong in the first place, you're going to be learning it wrong. So you've got to pay really close attention when you're doing that first step. That obviously covers visual, oral, and the kinesthetic learners too. So that's why those 5 steps are really important. So my advice would be, if you're trying to improve your spelling, do stick to that. Other tips then on trying to improve spelling: keep spelling lists. You know, over the years I've taught a lot of kids. I know I don't look old enough. So a lot of them I've given little spelling books too, and I've said, look, you know, your essay's got quite a lot of errors in it. Here's a little book for you. I'd like you to start writing down the words that you're getting wrong and spend time practicing them. You know, there's no point practicing words that you are getting well, or you are knowing. So practice the ones that you're finding a wee bit more tricky. And like I said, that list can be like words that you're getting wrong, or it can just be the most common words that you know that are going to come up in lots of different maybe subjects at school, like the word analysis, for example. That would be coming up in a few other subjects, not just English. Use the old dictionary. I'm not 7,000 years old. No. But there's obviously varieties of the dictionary available. Now you can get apps for your phone. There's loads of online dictionaries. Just check it's a British one, not an American one. Otherwise you'll be spelling everything with Z's. Just get in the habit, if you're trying a new word, or if you want to check the spelling of a word, then pop open one of those apps or online dictionaries. Even if you type in the word into Google, it'll probably come up. Did you mean? But just check again it's a British version that you're saying. And there's obviously websites that have got spelling games, so you can practice your spelling whilst playing a video game. Win-win. Everybody's happy, and you could play along with the people in your house for a wee bit more challenge. So, spelling strategies now, we're going to look at that. There's loads of different ways that you can try and practice spelling words. Okay, so this is break up the word, sound it out. So if you break up a word into syllables, so obviously that's to do with the beat. So like Leslie, Peyton, you know, that's the syllables that you can apply. That might help you pronounce it, which would obviously help to improve the spelling. So like Canada, I feel like that Proclaimer song, Canada. Anyway, or last week's lesson, apostrophe, you know, so if you can split it up, especially maybe with the longer words, that's another one. And again, sound it out so you can hear it and say it at the same time. To learn a longer word again, another tip is just break it up so you're handling it in smaller chunks. So, you know that film, I've forgotten what it is, but the Jim Carrey one where he's like, beautiful! That's the sort of thing. You can break it up to try and hone in on the little parts of the word, because it can be quite scary. Oh, when you've got a 13-letter word in front of you. Phonics, obviously a lot of you know about that. That's what you're taught pretty much from primary 1. How to sound out the words. It's all about sounds and doing the S's and all the ants on your arm, that sort of thing. So that's again to try and come into play with all the different learning strategies and styles that you have. You need to be able to know what letters sound like, not just on their own, but when they're with others, because obviously that can affect the pronunciation of them and the spelling. Phonics doesn't always apply though. Unfortunately, it's just more try to learn words and patterns. Try writing it out. That's how I learn. So often it helps just to write a word down. Have you ever had somebody say, how do you spell? And then you're like, easy. C-O-M. How many times have you done that? So it's a lot easier to write down words, myself included. You know, if the kids say, Mum, how do you spell blah? I think I'm quite decent at spelling, you'd hope. But there's always a word, or sometimes you write it down and go, that doesn't look right, does it? So we all have issues with spelling. Nobody's perfect. I'm pretty close, like, just kidding. But everybody struggles with spelling from time to time, so you're not alone. You know, nobody is a perfect speller in the world. You can just try and get better at it. So if you write it out, it makes it easier to see if it looks right or not. A homophone, we're going to do a little bit more work on this over the next couple of weeks. So a homophone is a word that has, that sounds the same as another word, but it's got a different meaning. So there's one on the board. So pair, as in P-A-I-R, pair of shoes. Pear, P-E-A-R, is the lovely juicy fruit that you can eat. So a homophone is obviously, you've got to try and learn the difference between them. Next week's lesson, which was going to be on Friday, is going to be the different theirs. So that's an example of a homophone. So to learn how to use them, basically you just need to work out the context and what one is correct. Alright, so there's some more examples of homophones. So we've had the pair. Male, as in A-I-L, is the post, whereas M-A-L-E is the guy. Doe, D-O-E, is a female deer. I feel a song coming on. Cover your ears. Doe, a deer, a female deer. Ray, a gop, a drop of golden sun. I'll stop now. Are they bleeding? As opposed to D-O-U-G-H, which is to knead the dough if you're making bread. Right, and lastly, whole, I could never eat a whole pizza, versus hole in the ground, I've just fallen through because I was too busy eating the whole pizza. Alright, I've been chatting enough. Thank goodness, you say. I know. It is going to be a lot of talking today, unfortunately. So, another wee, maybe a minute and a half this time. Can you think, how many homophones can you come up with? Again, try and work with other people, challenge each other. So try and think of, obviously I've given you a wee example. Whole, pair, there. That nearly rhymed. Anyway, so you've got a minute and a half. Try and come up with as many other homophones as you can think of. Alexa, play. Alexa, stop. How did you get on? Well done for all those that you've just come up with. While you were doing that, I was really busy over here having a cup of tea. And then I just thought, tea is a homophone. T-E-A, T-E-E, golf. Everybody that's a golfer. Other things to do, so other strategies. You can have memory aids, so words within words. So if you've got the word father, you've got fat, her. I'm not being derogatory, just saying. Or contented, contented. So you could break it up, try and just practice those three groups of littler words. That might help. Mnemonic, I love the way you say that. Isn't that a cool word? That could be the word of the day next week. Mnemonic. It's a silent M at the beginning, and mnemonic. Sounds like a robot for, Star Wars. It's a memory technique to help you remember things. So there's lots of different ones that I use in English. For example, when you're doing an introduction of a critical essay, I like to use the word tarts, which we'll go over in a couple of weeks' time. You're going to learn how to do a proper critical essay. So here's another example of a mnemonic some of you might know. So my mum always taught me when I was wee, Roijbiv. It's just one of those weird words. I know it's not a real word, but it's to learn the colours of the rainbow. Here's another one I discovered. Richard of York gave battle in vain. So obviously that's just another way of remembering the colours, because if you spell out the R-O-Y-G, that sort of thing, that's the way to remember the colours. I'm sure some of you have come across this one from primary. Because big elephants can't always understand small elephants, so it's just to try and go through that. So a mnemonic is quite a good way of trying to remember certain spellings. Just come up with your own little story, if you like. And here's my favourite. This was brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago by an ex-colleague of mine who thought this was the best lesson ever on how to spell diarrhea. As a registration teacher, the amount of letters I got from parents that said sorry they were off, but they had, and they were completely spelt wrong, all a variety of ways. So I came up with this little one. Either I came up with it or I may have taken it from the internet, can't remember. So this is dash in a real rush, hurry, or else accident. And there's the wee guy there doing just that. So that's a totally inappropriate mnemonic, but it might help you spell diarrhea. So if I've taught you that, that's at least one thing that I've done in my lifetime. Other spelling rules. It's important that obviously there are spelling rules that will apply, but they don't always apply. It's just for maybe a number of words. You can't always rely on them. There's always exceptions to the rule. So in a room, 99 people will be wearing blue and one's red. There's always an exception to the rule. I wonder which one I'd be. That's why it's important to just practice those words, because you'll find your own style, and the rules may help, but they don't always apply. So here's a little one that I found last night. So obviously I before E, except after 3, but this is one that I saw last night made me laugh. I before E, except when your foreign neighbour Keith received 8 counterfeit beige sleighs from feisty caffeinated weightlifters. Weird. So obviously that's funny because they're all EI spellings. And as you'll note at the side, I thought it was quite funny talking about Americanisms, that the only one I could find was from America of this little phrase. So I've just put in, please note that that's not how you spell neighbour in Britain. It's O-U-R. So that's a wee prime example of why you can't rely on the internet to help you with spelling all the time. Right, lastly, thank goodness we're at the end, I hear you say. I told you it was a long one and a lot of talking. There are obviously a few people who will have dyslexia, and there is absolutely no reason why you can't learn spellings. It's just that you will find it more challenging. So basically dyslexia is a condition that people don't hear the sounds of the language as well as somebody that doesn't have it. So that's why it's harder for them to use phonics and things, because they don't always hear those little nuances of the language to help them with the spelling. That's why some of the words get a bit jumbled up, because they can hear differently, and their brains are wired a little bit differently. You can still learn spellings, it's just that you will find it a little bit harder. So unfortunately, you just need to keep working hard and practice, and through practice as well. So the best way is, just like for everybody, to try and work out what kind of learner you are, and then stick to that rigidly, that spelling strategy, and everybody can help improve their spelling. Okay? So, as I've said, a couple of days off for family commitments. I'm sorry. I hope you'll miss me. You can obviously watch the other videos back, get me a few more views. Monday's lesson is going to be nifty nouns. You're going to learn what a noun is, and I don't know why they're nifty, I just like alliteration. As always, if you haven't done so, please like and subscribe to my channel. Join the Aim Higher Facebook page. That's the information there if you want to get the sources on the Google Classroom. I have uploaded a few things in the last couple of days. I will obviously be doing more over the weekend and the latter half of next week. So later on next week, you're going to be doing war poetry. Ooh, fancy! So war poetry is the focus for the second half of next week. We're going to do the 2 lessons as planned on Monday and Tuesday. And if you'd like to send me a little thank you, there's one person that already has, you know who you are, I'm going to reply later, then that's the PayPal address. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Despite the glorious weather, now you can go out and enjoy it. Come back at 2 o'clock if you'd like to learn all about the S4 and 5 exam. No? Oh well. Okay, have a great day and thanks for tuning in. Bye! Alexa, play. Thank you, chicken.